in South America. Oh my God, all those countries, they're all going
And
basically
Turkey.
bankrupt. But I mean,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Hi, we're just going to come on in a few minutes. We're talking politics. I got the video on and we're talking about politics.
How much of that was out?
Just like a little bit. Don't worry.
And we've been listening to a piece by Catley. And with me in the studio is Howard Elias.
Good morning.
Yes, we've been talking politics, so now we're going to talk film.
Yeah, but I was amazed that I came here. I thought yesterday I was going to have to swim here today. You know, I had flooding in my place yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, I had like 3 inches of water.
Yeah. I've been traveling around at various times of the days in taxis and always getting caught in these torrential downpours. It's so dangerous.
Incredible. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hello, Phil Whelan. He's watching us.
I think that the weather is supposed to be better this weekend. I'm not sure, but let's hope.
We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to tell us about Tully.
Yeah, only one film this week. You know, last week I talked about 4 films in about 12 minutes.
That's a record.
I was like talking so fast to get it through, and then this week 2 people came up to me and they said, "You were really negative last week," because 3 of the 4 films I thought were garbage. So my answer to those people and to everybody else is, if I think a film is lousy, I'm going to tell you it's lousy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So you know, that's me, you know.
You're a critic.
That's why they pay me the big bucks at RTHK. It's to be honest, to tell you the way it is. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about a film called Tully, Tully. It's actually been out for a few months. It's played in North America, it's played in England, and it's finally coming here. Opens today, and it stars Charlize Theron, South African. Do you know Charlize?
Yes.
Yeah, she's a wonderful actress, Oscar winner.
Say her first name?
Charlize, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Why? How do you think it's pronounced?
No, never mind.
Okay. Yeah, Charlize Theron. She is South African, does a wonderful American accent. You wouldn't know that she's South African.
But isn't she based in America these days?
Yeah, I suppose. But if you listen to her in interviews, she really, you know, she talks like a South African.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I have to go check that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she plays a 40-year-old suburban mother of 2 who's heavily pregnant. She's 9 months pregnant at the start of the film, and she does have the baby during the film. And she has plenty on her plate by the time the baby comes. And so this is a film, you said at the outset, what did you say? This is a film about depression and motherhood? Is that what you said?
Motherhood and, wait a minute. Let me see, what did I say?
What did you say?
I said, it's over here somewhere.
Hold that thought.
It's a drama comedy.
Sort of.
Right. Yeah. Which explores motherhood and mental health.
Oh, yeah, well, it doesn't really explore. And it's not really,
Would you say it starts a conversation about it?
It'll be a very short conversation.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, it does examine, let's say it does examine postpartum depression. And, you know, I'm the youngest of 3 children, and I'd like to think that by the time I came around, my mother was completely relaxed. But I know that she was not, and especially because my father was not exactly a hands-on type of father. This was late 50s, early 60s, when fathers were not hands-on at all. Or was your father hands-on?
No, my father, because of his work, couldn't be around very often. But he always made the effort when he could to do things with me.
Oh, you had a good father.
Absolutely.
Oh, no, my father was like,
and my parents
mother's
used to
job.
keep me out of school every once in a while because it was the only time that he could be with me
on
a weekday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you were very liberal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No. Well, we were very sort of traditional, or, you know, division of labor. You know, father brings home the bacon, mother looks after the kids. You know, very much division of labor in my house. So, and I would say in Marlo Moreau's case, who's Charlize Theron's character, it's that case too, that she and her husband Drew, who's played by Ron Livingston, people might remember him. He was one of Carrie Bradshaw's boyfriends in Sex and the City. One season, she was his boyfriend. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, but that's a long time
Yeah,
ago.
I know. Okay. So most recently, he was in the end of the tour in the film Lucky, which I talked about last year. So they both have okay jobs, but they're like many middle-class Americans where they're probably one paycheck away from bankruptcy. You know, they're that situation. They don't have a lot, but they're
just Americans.
Yeah, just Americans. Yeah,
The world.
you know, They have enough to make ends meet and not much more. Now, their 8-year-old daughter, Sarah, she's fine, but she's already starting to have self-doubts, as many girls that age do, unfortunately. But their 6-year-old son, Jonah, he's a bit of a handful because he has, well, they don't even know what he has. He's not been diagnosed yet as being on the autism spectrum, but certainly he has issues. And his issue is sensory overload. He just goes, wacko, and acts out when there's too much noise around him. And so Marlo has to deal with all this and about to have a baby. And she finds out that at Jonah's school, they're basically kicking him out because he's just too much for them to handle. So they're telling Marlo that she has to hire a private teacher for him to bring into the classroom so that Jonah can have one-on-one teaching. So she's completely overwhelmed. So in an attempt to help her out, her rich and perfect brother, Craig, played by Mark Duplass, who was in the film Blue Jay, which I talked about a few weeks ago. If you haven't seen Blue Jay yet, highly recommend it. And so Craig and his wife offer to pay for a night nanny for Marlo and Drew. And Marlo and Drew just won't have anything of it because, first of all, it's not their style to have somebody look after their child at night. And also it comes from Craig, who they pretty much don't like because he sort of flaunts his wealth at them. But, after she has the baby and then she has to deal with round-the-clock infant care and then deal with the 2 kids and the issue, especially with Jonah's education, and Drew is busy with work and doesn't really give her attention, and she doesn't have the strength to give him attention, she caves in and decides to hire the night nanny, whose name is Tully. That's why the name of the film is called Tully. And Tully is played by Mackenzie Davis, who had small roles, one in Blade Runner 2049, the other in The Martian. So she might be a face that you'll recognize or not. She is everything. Tully is everything that Marlo isn't. Or perhaps she's everything that Marlo was before she got married, moved to the suburbs, had kids, put on about 50 pounds. And she's young, she's pretty, she's fit, she's smart, she has an active sex life, she knows exactly what to say at the right time. She's like Mary Poppins. So, these 2 women seem to strike up a friendship, and they understand each other extremely well. So for Marlo, Tully is an absolute godsend because now she can get some sleep, she can be the kind of mother and the kind of wife that she really wants to be. However, all good things have to come to an end at some point, and that's really what the story is all about. Now, you mentioned that it's a comedy drama. It's not, well, it's supposed to be, but it isn't really. To my opinion, it isn't comedic enough, and it isn't dramatic enough. It's a little bit safe. Unfortunately, I think it could have, if it had gone to both extremes, then it would have been a better film. So it's not a bad film. Now, it's the 3rd collaboration between Canadian director Jason Reitman, I have to say Canadian because I'm Canadian, and screenwriter Diablo Cody. Their first 2 films were Juno in 2007. Did you ever see Juno, about the 16-year-old girl who's pregnant? I really liked that film. And I think Diablo Cody won an Oscar for writing that, if I remember correctly. And they did a second film in 2011 called Young Adult, also starring Charlize Theron. Now, Diablo Cody has both her fans and her critics because she writes very affected dialogue for her characters. Some people like it, some people don't, right? I liked it in Juno, but I can appreciate why people don't like it because it doesn't seem real. And certainly in this movie, it just didn't seem honest for these characters to have these, long dialogues and these great revelations. I just didn't buy it. So for me, it didn't quite work. Now the story lends itself to another film called The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Do you remember that film? About the nanny who basically takes over the life of the mother, right? Yeah. So, as you're watching this film, you think, is this the direction they're going? Because we've seen this before. And certainly there's one point where you think they are going in this direction. And I think she intentionally wrote the scene that way so that you do think it's going to go in that direction. But thankfully it doesn't. That's not really a spoiler, but it doesn't go in that direction. This is a comedy drama about postpartum depression. But as I said, it's not really comedic enough, and it's not dark enough. You know, I wish it would have been wittier and darker, and then like bounce between the two extremes. Then it would have been a really good film. So as it is, it's an okay film. Certainly the performances are much better than the writing, in my opinion. I think Charlize Theron is wonderful, as she always is. Did you know she gained 50 pounds for this role? So you see her in all her heaviness, right? There's one scene.
I thought she was pregnant in real life. No?
Well, not in this movie. No,
Oh.
she put on 50 pounds.
Really?
Apparently she ate around the clock
Oh.
to put on this weight. And I mean, there's one scene where she's sitting at the
It's
table.
like Rich Jones.
Yeah.
Renee
Zellweger,
Zellweger.
yeah. So there's one scene where she's just totally overwhelmed. This is before she hires the night nanny. And she takes off her top, and her 8-year-old daughter says, "Mom, what happened to your body?" Right? Right out of the mouths of babes. Now, that was a great line. That was a great scene, a great line. And I wish there would have been more of that. You know, that was good. And then if they could have gone, you know, have those comic parts and then have those really dark parts like, who is Tully?
Yeah, but that's not so comic because it's not something that you want to hear.
But if it's, you know, if you're going to poke a finger at, you know, the trials and tribulations, or the, you know, the stresses that a woman who goes through postpartum depression goes through, you got to go there to the points, when it hurts, right? You got to hit those points as well.
Will this movie help anyone who's experienced it, or is perhaps like maybe coming to a point in their life where they might experience it?
Well, from what I've read online, some people, and this is like Cody Diablo's running, some people say, I'm great that she did it. And then other people are saying, no, this is not the way it is. And so, you know, there's people on both sides of the fence on this one. I didn't come away understanding my mother any better, you know. I'm thinking, so, you know, it didn't, for me, it didn't work. I also like, by the way, is Mackenzie Davis, who played Tully. I think she was wonderful. She's got that sweet look that masks an evil soul. You know, she's like Eva Green, who's you know, the French actress, who's also wonderful. So we're going to be seeing Mackenzie Davis in a new film in the spring called The Turning. It's a drama horror film. I don't know anything other than that, but I can see her doing, you know, drama horror films. That's really the look, you know, the type of character that she is. So I'm looking forward to that film. So as it is, I'd say it's an okay film. Certainly go see it. But if you don't, you're not going to lose any sleep over it. Ha 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 ha. You know, lose sleep, right? You got it. So I'm not negative today. I'm just not overly positive.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you very, very much. Howard Elias,
Thanks.
thank you.